update. Am I the a-hole for not letting my best friend have her wedding on my property after being uninvited? Original story. One of my 29 male best friends, Carla, 31 female, is getting married soon. It's only meant to be a small backyard type of wedding, but they've been planning it for a few months now, and originally it was supposed to be on my property. They wanted it because it's private, has lots of open space for the reception, a nice view, and the house could be used for them to get ready and stuff. Of course, I said yes, so she and her fiancé Rick were very happy. Thing is, Carla and I do have a history. We went on and off in college but decided to stay friends. Then I met my wife, got married, Carla met Rick, and now here they are. Now, my wife knows I went out with Carla back in college, and she didn't care. Carla still went to our wedding and everything. I never knew if Rick was told or not, as it's not my relationship, therefore not my business to say anything, so I never did. But Rick found out recently, and not in the best way. Not sure how, but from what I heard from friends is that one mutual friend told him, no idea why, that we used to date. Not only that, but apparently Carla said a couple years ago she was still in love with me when she was already dating Rick. Don't have actual confirmation if that's exactly what he was told. All Carla told me is that Rick was told about our past, and he's angry at her for never saying anything. It became quite a drama, and didn't hear from her over a month until now. She told me they're going to couples counseling and that the wedding is still on, but Rick requested that I not attend. It sucks, but I totally get why he wouldn't be comfortable. Then I ask the obvious question, where are they going to hold the wedding then? To my surprise, she said they still want it at our place. Rick said so too, and in my mind I'm going, he doesn't want the guy who dated his fiancée years ago at the wedding, but still wants the wedding at his house? My wife and I are expected to just not be at our home that weekend. So I told Carla no. They're going to have to find someplace else, since we're not going to simply leave our home to them for the weekend. Not only for safety reasons, but it just doesn't make sense. Rick doesn't want me around because he's not comfortable, but is comfortable enough to have their wedding at my house? They really want their wedding here though. And because of that, I've been bugged by not only her, but also Rick, and some friends who think I'm being a petty a-hole for not letting them have the wedding here anymore. Honestly, I don't think that I am. It just doesn't make sense at all to have to leave our own place for a wedding we're no longer welcome to, and leaving our home totally vulnerable. Still, being accused of sabotaging their wedding, and Rick believes, is the least I can do after everything. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Rick doesn't want to get married anymore, but doesn't want to be the bad guy breaking up with his fiancée, so has put her in an impossible position so he can get the sympathy when they split. Not the a-hole. Damn, excellent insight. Rick is petty and passive-aggressive. And ridiculously insecure. Like she's marrying a dude, not her ex. Chill. Not the a-hole. What a weird request. Do you typically host wedding receptions on your property? He can go pay for a venue if he's going to act like that. If they even end up getting married. Only hosted a wedding once for my sister a couple years ago. It's stressful setting up and cleaning up after even with a crew. So that's why I'd only do it for people I'm close to. Just a thought. But if they keep pushing and harassing you, it's still very likely that if they decide to go through with it, they'll just turn up on your property day off or day before to set up, thinking you'll have no choice but to allow it. I'd tell them in no uncertain terms that if they do, you'll have authorities called and have them removed as they don't have permission to use your private property. Rick believes it's the least I can do after everything. Rick is sick if he thinks A, his fiancée never dated anyone before him, B, she didn't stay friends with old boyfriends, C, he can get someone's home as a wedding venue while not allowing the owners to attend the wedding. You are under no obligation to provide a free wedding venue to these people under these circumstances because you have not, in fact, done anything wrong. I pity Carl if she marries the guy. Not the a-hole. And now for the update. Some stuff has happened recently, and many of you have wanted an update on this. I appreciate the reassurance and understanding my decision when it seems that many the situation didn't. So I remained firm in my decision about not letting them use my property for their wedding, even if they changed their mind about inviting us, which honestly I don't care about anymore. Rick's family, thanks to him, got a hold of my cell, so that was more people I had to deal with. I put my foot down with Rick a few days ago and told him directly that I will go to the police and press charges for harassment. I have all the texts and calls documented. Also had a very long talk with Carl about everything going on. She apologized for it all, and she knows it's her own fault. Well, she decided to be the one to call things off in the end. Some of my friends still seem to think it's my fault, and I'm taking some distance from them for a while. And also from Carla, after getting some confirmation on a few things that I needed to know. The whole thing is a mess, and I'm only glad in the end that I didn't give in to their demands, and the constant bugging has stopped. It's still a huge headache over the last few days, and not the kind of drama I want back in my life. Thank you to everyone who made me feel supported in this. It helped a lot not feeling like the only other person, aside from my wife, who thought their demand was insane and inappropriate. Wow. They ended up calling off their whole wedding? Guess they both dodged a bullet just because you refused to be used. Good for you. Well, Carla did, and I think she realized this was too much drama and conflict before the marriage even begins. I'm sure she had other reasons. I think she did a good thing here, because I feel like Rick was crazy and showing red flags. I feel bad for her. I also feel bad for Opie and the wife for having to be harassed by some crazy man and his family. I think Carla had plenty of fault too. Probably better for all that they don't get married. Stay strong, man. Also, beware of weird vendettas from Rick's family. So far, nothing in the last few days. Don't know if that's the calm before the storm, or Rick at least warned them that I'm not playing around. Or Rick went, yay, I don't have to marry her anymore, and I didn't even have to be the a-hole for calling it off. She did it, and has called off his family. The harassment was still occurring from Rick and also his family even after Carl called things off. It just wasn't because of the wedding venue anymore. That only stopped after I threatened legal action. That whole situation sounded insane. I'm sorry I had to endure something like this from such entitled jerks over it. And you've potentially lost a longtime friend because of it too. But I think you're better off. Fiancé especially sounds nuts. I can't grasp being so insecure over learning that my significant other has, gasp, dated other people before me. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé she's either with me or against me in this conflict? So my fiancé, female 24 and I, male 27, got engaged in May and are currently planning for our wedding in August. It's worth mentioning that I'm the sole earner because my fiancé is still in university and have saved up decent amount of money to afford the wedding. Thing is, her parents get involved in everything. From picking the engagement ring on my behalf, to giving opinions on where we should rent, and now my future mother-in-law is constantly giving opinions in our wedding. Future mother-in-law would follow up in everything we do. It'd make negative comments on things like the best man, the guest list, and food. She told my fiancé she didn't like who I picked to be my best man and wanted me to replace him after a big argument, but I said no. Though my fiancé said we should have just done it. Mother-in-law also wanted me to uninvite people I wanted at the wedding so she could add more guests on her side of the family. I said no to that too. Now to the current and biggest conflict between us. Mother-in-law called saying she didn't like the venue we picked, which is in our hometown. She wanted me to reconsider, but I said no since my fiancé liked it too. But my fiancé came to me yesterday to show me a venue her mom picked and already paid for, saying since she paid for it, then I should say yes this time. I was in shock and angry because not only did she not consult us, but the venue she picked is 3 towns away where my brother-in-law lives. I immediately thought about my disabled parents who cannot travel this distance for health reasons. Besides that, most of my family won't attend because of the distance, so I said absolutely not agreeing on this venue. My fiancé said she disagreed with me, and that I had no right to complain because her mom and dad paid a lot of money for this venue as a wedding gift and we should accept it. I calmly explained why I refused, and she kept saying I'm refusing on purpose because I hate her mom and I'm playing cat and mouse with her. I bluntly said her mom is indeed making this a game and told my fiancé she's either with me or against me on this issue. That she either backs me up or there won't be any more wedding planning. She got upset and started crying, asking what she's going to tell her mom and why I was making her choose between me and her parents. But I just feel like she's refusing to see why I don't want this specific venue. So what if her brother lives there? I've never been to that town, so having the wedding just because her mom paid for the venue is not okay. We haven't talked ever since that argument. My friend called me an ungrateful fool for turning away a free wedding venue over distance, but I can't help but feel future mother-in-law did it purposely. Now for the top comments. Not day haul, but this is a very good peek into your future. Your mother-in-law is going to do this all the time about everything, and it doesn't sound like your fiancé has the spine to stand up to her. You need to have a conversation with her about your partnership and her mother. If you're happy to deal with us for the rest of your life, then good luck with the wedding. But if you don't want her interfering with everything, imagine when she becomes a grandmother. Then you need to take pause and consider whether this is what you want forever. This, 100% this. If she runs your wedding, she will have input in your future homes, kids, and their upbringing, and anything you do. She will have an opinion and try to control it. If you accept this, she knows she's got you, and you'll be posting in just no mother-in-law for the rest of your marriage. Not day haul. All of this. Both of these posts. If your fiancé won't stand up to her mother, your future mother-in-law is going to be a third party in your relationship. This is a massive red flag. Not day haul. Not day haul. But the question you need to ask yourself is if this is a life you want to live. This isn't going away after the wedding. This is huge. Opie needs to realize that this is a peek into her family life and how she will deal with them in the upcoming years. Your fiancé knows you have disabled parents, and she's agreeing with her mother still. Opie, I would consider not marrying her right now. How long have you guys been dating? And it seems she is still hugely dependent on her parents. You guys might have a compatibility issue, and jumping into a marriage so fast might be setting up yourselves for failure/divorce, which could financially ruin you, especially since she is just a student. Not day haul. Run, Opie, run. Your parents not being able to make it to that venue should be a deal breaker for your future wife and her parents. The fact that it isn't shows you just how little they value you, your family, and friends. Think about how these plays with buying a home, having children, and raising children. Look how much your future monster-in-law is trying to micromanage your life now. How is it going to be with babies in the mix? Assuming that's your plan. If you're not planning on having kids, how is that going to go over with her? Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not being excited enough over my sister's pregnancy and saying no to planning the baby shower? Okay, so it's not that I, female 26, hate kids. I really don't. But you would think that if you spoke to my family. My parents and rest of my family are going insane over my sister Sophia's pregnancy. It's dominating every discussion and every family get-together. Won't lie, this has been getting to me. Like, I'm not saying it's not a blessing, but oh my god, I'm bored of talking about baby showers, baby names, clothes, etc. So I just kind of turn off when it comes up now. I'm trying to be polite, but it's especially upsetting because the father of my future nephew/niece is the guy I was... It might still be, I don't know anymore. Really in love with. Luke was actually someone I dated first, back in my final year of university. Luke is also from my home city too, but we hadn't met prior. We dated a good few months before I decided that we worked better as friends. This hurt, but I pushed through it and we got a good friendship out of it. So when we graduated, we both went back home and spent pretty much the entire summer at ours because he has a difficult relationship with his father. That's when Luke and Sophia got together. Yet, despite all this history between Luke and I, no one in my family seems to think this whole experience might be a little strange for me. I won't lie, when I saw him kissing my sister drunk at a party, I kinda thought, you prick. But it's okay. It won't last. Safe to say, it lasted. But whatever, you know. You have to get over stuff like this. And I am, but I'm not a fountain of enthusiasm over it either. The drama comes when my mom asked me if I could plan the baby shower. And I told her no, basically, because I personally disagree with them trying to hold one during a pandemic anyway. That I have a life outside of this whole thing and that I'm busy. I didn't say it, but it also feels weird for me to be so involved with my feelings being the mess that they are. I just told her she could do it if she wanted. It's her grandchild, and that makes more sense than me doing it. But my mom got upset with me and my tone, and accused me of being unsupportive of my sister's happiness this whole time, and even selfish for not wanting to be part of it more. But I wasn't going to take that, because I've tried really hard to be mature over this. So I told her she was being suffocating with it, but not everyone has to do everything she wants all the time, and basically told her off for making a drama out of nothing. But now she's upset with me, and I'm starting to feel bad. Am I the a-hole? This has nothing to do with your history with Luke. If you don't want to do the baby shower, don't do it. Your mom is being extremely entitled to think she can just give commands like that and commit emotional blackmail when people refuse. Moms have the reputation of being so kind and supportive, but I've mostly noticed they tend to be entitled little children that always have to get their way. So strange. And if she did agree, Mom will be all over it, demanding and checking in and ordering. See what games you've planned, and then tell you must also plan to play this one and that one too. What? You don't have a 1C station? You must hate your sister. Plan one now and make sure you have glitter glue, not just Sharpies for decorating. And what cake did you order? That's not nearly big enough. And want just vanilla. You need to do a vanilla chocolate split cake to show you truly care, etc. Not today, Hall. Despite the fact your sister found it appropriate to get together with your ex, you just don't want to plan the baby shower, and that's fine. You have a job and a life outside of hers. Yours doesn't have to stop because she's having a baby. If it makes you uncomfortable, then end of story. No need to explain further. Not today, Hall. You've already been very mature in this situation. It is possible for you to be happy for your sister and still not want to get overly involved with the process. Good on you for standing up for yourself. Your mom sounds pretty pushy. Just let her know that you look forward to attending the baby shower as a guest and not a planner. There's no shame in some boundaries. How did they respond when he moved on to your sister? Did they offer you any empathy, support, understanding? They didn't, but it's my own fault, because I downplayed my feelings for him to them. Because it was kind of embarrassing to admit that I really liked him when he broke it off, and we were still seeing each other loads as friends. They offered sympathy at the time of the breakup, but I brushed it off. So they figured by the time he got with Sophia that all was well. They even joked over it a few times, which was so awkward for me. I just really suck at expressing myself, I think. I just kind of hoped they'd see through it.
Update. Am I the a-hole for leaving my girlfriend after she got date raped? Original post. My girlfriend, explicitly because I was spending my weekend with family who had flown in from out of state and country, decided to go out. She spent, however, much of the day at the mall with some guy she said she just wanted to be friends with. He took her back to his place where there was apparently a party. She turned off her location. I noticed when I went to send her a good night message and asked her if everything was okay and if she was safe. She affectionately said she was. I asked her if her home Wi-Fi was down again. She told me she had turned it off so her parents wouldn't know where she was. I asked her where she was and she never answered me. From the bits she's told me, the music was loud. He told her he wanted to show her his room because of how hilariously tiny it was. She went up with him, and he started going after her sexually. She said it was late and her parents were worried about her and she wanted to go home, but from what I understand, he pressured her into saying yes. That's coercion and rape. I got a message that morning telling me she had cheated, but her friends told her it was rape. I messaged her, drew her hugging geese, told her I wanted to make sure she was okay, and call. I offered to drive over. She told me she was with her good friend, different guy obviously, and spending the day with him. I kept messaging, worried about her, to no response, until I stopped to not pressure her. I barely got through work that day, and got myself drunk that night, first time properly sloshed, to stop worrying. When trying to be with family, I only had a day with between months or years. She called me when I was drunk and asked me to come over, offered to Uber me over, told me she needed me. I told her I was drunk and couldn't be there. I had also promised my family members not to talk to her if they let me at the hard whiskey. She called me, and I was apparently asking too many questions and told me to just spend the next day with family. The next day while I was with family, she begged me to come over. By that point, I was already talking to family, including my sister, who was abused, including violated by her ex, trying to understand. They all told me she breached my trust. In all fairness, they're biased because they feel she's abusive. In a previous AITA post, all responses told me I was being abused, if they believed the story at all. I broke up with her then, but she told me she needed me to sit next to her that night, or she wouldn't be able to finish her take-home midterm. She aced it while I worked right next to her. We talked and cuddled, and I thought things would improve, and some aspects definitely did. My sister told me breaking up with her, then comforting her, would just lead me back into the cycle and hurt her too. And I thought through all the stories I had hidden from them and my friends of how she did me wrong, and I yelled at them that they were wrong, and I just slid down onto the ground and wrote this message. You did not deserve to be raped. What he did was awful, and it is never your fault. But girlfriend, you went up to his room alone with him, after you two spent however much of the day together. You made fun of me for how oblivious I was at the start, but even I would have caught that. You didn't tell him about me because you didn't want to ruin his opinion by being too complicated. You can say my boyfriend is worried about me without explaining our entire relationship. You could make it clear you were taken, but you didn't, when you have actively complained to me about how men often only befriend women for sex. And again, none of that excuses what he did, and I am so sorry that happened to you. But that doesn't change that you cheated on me. Not physically, but emotionally. My family doesn't know so many of the other cheating adjacent things either, and so many friends are telling me the exact same thing. When you called me, I melted at your voice and forgot it all. But our relationship died when you walked into that room. It should have died when you refused full exclusivity, and it should have died when you kissed that guy on our break. If I go over there now, I will be betraying my sister and other relatives when I promised so many times I wouldn't leave her again. And besides, there's nothing I as your ex can possibly do to genuinely support you right now, especially with how shattered my trust is. I'm sorry I made a promise to you I couldn't keep. You were right. Your trauma is valid, and if you need to, please talk to a professional at the sexual assault hotline. Thank you for the lessons, the fun, your amazing cooking, and the geese. And Poodle, wish you the very best. Goodbye. I don't think we should stay in contact, even though it burns me inside to say this. I'll send you your stuff, including replacement Tupperware, and I'll figure out with someone to grab my stuff too. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Jesus Christ, that was too much. I dumped her in my mind when you said she was hanging out with some other guy and turned her location off. She literally went on a date with another guy, then followed him to his home, turned off her location, followed him into his room and slept with him, and is now screaming rape. Like I normally wouldn't want to victim blame, but it really sounds like she just went on a date, slept with another guy, then decided to say she was forced, just in case anything ever came up due to her turning off her location. She just had to see his tiny room. See you next month, when you're back with the abusive little idiot. Although I hope not. Yeah, last time I made a post like this, I went right back because she promised to change. And while she did check herself into therapy like I asked her to, now she's just about burned the bridge. And even though I blocked her on everything, she's still putting photos into the shared album. It genuinely makes me cringe now when I see her face, so I think I'm safe on that. And if not, I am in the process of having a conversation with my entire friend network piece by piece so that they can get my head on straight if I even think about going back. Currently, I'm throwing myself into helping my sister with her wedding by illustrating their guest/songbook and hitting the gym to get back the six-pack I had before I met her. Can you remove yourself from this shared album? I want to talk to a therapist, which is why I haven't left the album or removed our text logs, since I want to be able to talk about things with a good timeline and exact words. I'm honestly extremely confident I won't fall back into the cycle again. Feasibly, I don't imagine a way for her to contact me again bar, I don't know, commenting on an old shared Google Doc, since I don't know how to block on there. Now for the update. So, something like 2 months ago, I made a post here. In short, while I had family I barely saw in town over the weekend, my ex hung out with a friend. Her location went off, then she told me she had cheated, but then that she'd been raped the next morning. Then contact stopped. Then I got drunk because I was just glassy-eyed and was trying to enjoy the time I barely got with family. Then she suddenly wanted me over, etc. I ended up coming to the conclusion that she had been date raped while cheating on me. And with my family support, especially my sister, who had been victimized herself in the past, I ended things and dumped her. I thought that was a lot when it happened, but things went insane afterwards. So, I ended up spending the day with family. And that night, I went to my cousin's grandmother's 79th birthday. She and her husband were basically surrogate grandparents to me. That section of the family was always close, so they were almost grandparents to me. Her husband threw this massive party, seemingly out of nowhere. That was the night I wrote the original post. 2 days later, his heart stopped. I was already a mess, between trying to process what happened with my ex, wanting answers and closure, and also dealing with a flat tire. Then he was in the hospital with guaranteed brain damage, and then he was gone. I basically collapsed the first week after the post, skipping all my university classes and only going to work. I attended his vigil every night after he was taken off life support at the end of the week. He was brain dead, but my family wanted to keep him alive until relatives from out of town could get back. During this time, my ex got around my block, messaging me on Steam, which I forgot to block her on. She said she just wanted to tell me the full story and recounted her story of the incident in extreme detail. She explicitly avoided telling me any information about the affair, lest I discover who it was. However, in telling me that, I was able to piece together who it was. A guy she had been in the talking phase with when we were talking too, who told her he had no interest in being friends when she chose me. Months before this incident, she had called a break, went on a date and kissed him. I should have left her then, but through guilt and promises, and what I later learned was a trauma bond built through abuse, I took her back. She swore to block him and yada yada. But I wanted answers, and I was feeling so completely dead trying to process everything. I let her convince me to talk in person under the guise of closure. She cried and begged and promised and pleaded. I sat there like a rock for hours, tried walking out several times, but she withheld information while dripping it to me just quickly enough to make it feel like progress. Over the next week, I uncovered the story. She had been seeing him in secret for the month before. She claimed it was all platonic. She put incredible effort into seeing him. She talked smack about me too. But what really gets me is that she took the train into my city, where he lived too, greeted him at the station, never wanted me to pick her up from her city anymore, 80 miles away, then shamed me for never picking her up, and painting herself as sacrificing for me by taking the train when she was meeting her affair at the station. I worked when the train pulled in. It was her spring break, so she was back in town for a week. She love-bombed me for that whole time, presented herself as a safe harbor in the emotional storm she caused. I was 3 weeks behind on my classwork by then, and I was only able to be productive around her, so I stayed there to stay afloat, falling into her hoover. But then I saw her promises be broken. I saw the mask begin to slip, and I started collecting my stuff so she could not keep it hostage. I began mentally preparing to leave. Then the emotional abuse started again. The devaluation, the gaslighting. But I tried a few times to present myself, only to be emotionally attacked for a week. Then she realized I was leaving, and it flipped into gaslighting, claims of loyalty and love. When she claimed I was presuming to know her mind by saying she didn't love me, nor was loyal to me, I remember sending this. I'm not a mind reader, but if your brand of loyalty involves betrayal and cheating repeatedly, I don't want that loyalty. I ended up aggregating every letter I never sent her into a 43-page document. I read through it all, and I did what she never could. I listened to my younger self. I felt his pain. I became the person he had needed for 7 months. Someone who could truly listen. I supported him. I proved to myself that I could love myself, and that I was enough. That was what gave me closure. Myself, not her. Closure never comes from another person, only from you. Then I cut contact, more thoroughly that time. No contact will be a month and 3 days. She tried contacting me by using my phone number at CVS to send me a receipt, adding me on chess.com, and reacting to my Duolingo streak, but I just kept going. It was hard at first, but I got myself into therapy, where I started at medium depression but have been cleared completely. Started attending Codependence Anonymous meeting. Reconnected with friends and family better than I ever had before in my life. I also realized that I was likely dealing with someone with comorbid BPD and NPD, especially since she would explicitly revoke her empathy and love at times, among many other things you can read by going through my post and comment history. But she's not important anymore. What matters is that I took all that energy and love I had given her and put it into myself, and I'm now doing better than I ever have been. I'm on top of myself and I'm busy, but I'm loving it. I went from a 78 on my math exam at the beginning of no contact to a 106.5 a few days ago. I barely think of my ex anymore, and while I'm not looking for romance, someone approached me the other day, and I had an amazing time with her then, so I'm open to see where things go. Apart from that, my sister's wedding is in 2 weeks. I've been incredibly busy illustrating for that. Drew for 8 hours today. My finals are at the same time, and I'm also pursuing a Microsoft contract, so life is amazing but exhausting. I'm driving out to the desert with my friend tomorrow though, and he's going to introduce me to a bunch of motor and water sports, so I'm honestly really excited. Plus I'm getting a ton of friends together on Sunday to meet up after a while. Life is really good. I just wanted to thank everyone who commented and DM'd me on the original post. So many of you helped me. Several people wanted an update then, so here it is. Dude, she was never raped. She got caught cheating, so claimed it was to get out of it. She was seeing the guy for a while, so very likely banged him multiple times. She was nothing but a lying, cheating, manipulative piece of trash. I have an ex who did that. He went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting and just disappeared for 3 days. When he finally reached out to me, he exploded on me that he'd been raped. Knowing I'm a survivor, he assumed this would make me sympathetic and forgiving. It didn't. I told him if he really had been, he needed to file a police report. I never heard another word about it. He's ruining someone else's life now. My takeaway from this post is if someone wants, they would. She called him from CVS with a receipt, Duolingo'd, on Steam, showed up. The only means missing was sending an actual pigeon. On a serious note, this woman sounds completely deranged. I hope this dude gets his healing and stays far, far away. My sister's ex occasionally contacted her through 1-cent Zelle transaction memos. That's disturbingly persistent. Like, I know that stalker laws really aren't great anywhere really, but I feel like that level of commitment to harassment should be able to actionable damn near everywhere. Last story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend over a note a pilot left for her? Plus update. We are not teenagers anymore, so maybe this is too much. I am 31 and she is 30. We were flying yesterday after a 4-day vacation, and while I was in the toilet at a coffee shop within the airport, she was left a note by a pilot, and she smiled at him. I am not controlling and insecure, or so I hope. I asked out of curiosity, and she told me it was her subway ticket that had fallen under the table. He picked it up for her. She indeed had her ticket on the table, so I didn't really think too much about it, but her cheeks were a bit flushed. And this morning I found a real note he left for her. It had fallen out of her pocket. I was doing the laundry. It was crumpled and written by hand, "Drive you like a hammer on a bed of nails," plus a wink emoji. I googled that, and it was a reference to an Alice Cooper song. I still haven't decided what to do. I will try to talk with her before ending this 6-year-old relationship. Sorry for the misleading title. I have not told her anything yet. I'm waiting for her to wake up and understand what happened. Now for the comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole, but she is. Simply for lying when you're in a relationship. If she had told you what it said from the beginning, it'd be no big deal. She made it secretive and weird. I still haven't decided what to do. I will try to talk with her before ending this 6-year relationship. Let the BS excuses begin. Now for the update. This is my house, and I told her to move out by tomorrow. She admitted to it all, the affair and everything. But surprise, surprise, he doesn't want to take her to live with him. They know each other. I did ask to see her phone, as controlling as that is. She had chats with him. It wasn't anything sexual though. So she keeps denying and blaming me for her lying, saying that I'm controlling. She flies often due to her job, so this is how they met. I believe his move was a power move actually. He wanted me to see him. He's better looking than me and fitter than me. A. Time to be depressed and move on, I guess. Although now she's begging me not to, that she only wants me. You did the right thing, OP. Now she'll experience the real bed of nails she deserves. She is crying now and begging me to not throw her out. I gave her 1 day. She didn't deserve it, but fine. She can go to her parents in her small town. She will not be homeless. She asked me where will she go. Oh, that urge to use the famous line, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Write it on a note. Ah, missed opportunity.